Apparently, electronics don't work well or something when Mercury's engaged. I think. I don't know. Yeah.
You can almost see it sinking in. Good evening. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cure,
Here.
Commissioner Garcia,
Here.
Commissioner Pahana,
Here.
Vice Chair Cruciat,
Here.
Chair Walker,
Here.
all present.
Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to the city's website and clicking on the meeting's agenda link. Public comments. This is time for the public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission that are not on this printed agenda. All comments are to be directed to the chair of the commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional and courteous decorum during their comments. There's a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a name and address slip and give them to the Planning Commission secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by the Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length items not on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of that agenda item. Do we have any public comments tonight? I'm going to open public comment. Nobody rushing up to the stand. I'm going to close public comment. Commissioner comments and reports of meetings attended. We'll start over with Leslie.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've not attended any meetings since our last.
Jim, sir?
Well, it's good to be here. I was supposed to be in Hawaii, but the weather kind of canceled that trip. So I would also advise people, hey, travel insurance is not a bad idea.
Jessica?
Hi, I have not attended any meetings since our last.
Alex?
I attended the city council meeting and found out some important information, and that's it.
I have not attended any meetings since our last. Consent calendar. On the consent calendar tonight is the Housing and General Plan Status Annual Reports. Does anybody want to pull this from the calendar for further discussion?
I motion that we accept the consent calendar as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Vote, please.
Commissioner Cure,
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia,
Hi.
Commissioner Pahana,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cruciat,
Aye.
Chair Walker,
Aye.
approved.
There are no items removed from the consent calendar this evening. There are no public hearings. Moving on to discussion and potential action items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We, being our community development staff, has had requests over the years about putting addresses on vacant parcels. And at first glance, this is, what's the big deal? But there is a history here of us working, especially with the water district, and whether or not a water meter comes into play and all of that. And we found out that this internal policy we've had about not issuing an address on a vacant parcel was quite informal. It was not written down anywhere. We couldn't find any ordinances or board policies or planning director policies anywhere. So we're looking to formalize it. And the reasons for is that we want to have a building permit to get a to actually issue an address. There's a primary residence or a commercial building or something there to get an address. Vacant parcel, we have had requests for vacant parcels to have addresses. Invariably, it's things like, we just want to get a water meter, or we want to have a storage unit without a primary residence, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, we need a primary residence. Our policy has always been, we need a primary residence or a primary structure before we get an address. I have asked Matt Schrag to be here to give some light as to water district policies. I'm hesitant about speaking for the water district. So he is here to answer any questions you have. I have looked into other jurisdictions to see what they do, and I've attached some of their addressing applications as part of the staff report. Los Angeles County, City of Riverside, Palm Springs, and Hemet all are very explicit that they do not issue addresses on vacant parcels. The other ones I've reached out to in our neighborhood, collective neighborhood Yucca Valley, Yucaipa, San Bernardino County, and Calamasa, either do not mention it or have another informal policy that's not written down somewhere. So the trend is is exactly what we're doing. As an example, here's the Palm Springs application, and oddly enough, the City of Riverside addressing form uses exactly the same words. So so we're looking for direction from the Planning Commission to see if we should approach, or if we should adopt the same approach. So like I said, we've got Matt Schrag here, and we're looking for direction, and we've got the Water District here if you have any questions.
Okay.
Does anybody up here have any questions? Who wants to start?
I have a very good example, because 4 years ago, on a 5-acre parcel that I have in what's zoned commercial general within the city of 29 Palms, I had a water meter, and they gave me an address. The Water District gave me an address. So how was this? So I have the water, the Water District gave me an address of 73920 Clone Way. The county just has my APN number, and you say that this address, the city does not know this address. It does not exist. So I guess my question is whatever we do, I'd like to get something that coordinates
The Water District.
what we do with the Water District,
Sure.
because I have this address, and what do I do with it? Or how was it assigned? Or, that's my question. I guess that's the question of the Water District.
Yeah, so the whole point, we're really trying to strive our processes and get them more tied in together so we don't have incidences like this. So, but I'll let Mr. Schrag.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Haven't been here for a meeting, so thank you guys for having me. So the way addresses were set up back in the day is right now the district comes to the city for a permanent address. We don't make addresses. Now, if we have to go outside, because the Water District is 87 square miles, the city is about 55, 52 square miles. We do have to go to the unincorporated areas to the county sometimes and also get an address verification. So verifications don't come from 29 Palms Water District. If we originally had an address on a parcel from years ago, it's probably stuck with that parcel, even though the city and the district at some point had to have established that address. So in this case, I don't know, I'll have to get that address from you and see maybe when it was established. But one of the things the district did, I would say 3 to 4 years ago during the marijuana farm days, is when people would call us and say, hey, we want a water meter, and we would say, hey, it's now, it's our policy to get city permits, city addresses involved, due to the fact that we're not just going to allow people to have water meters without pulling permits and doing the right things to have a structure. Now, we do also, let's just say somebody really pushed the issue and got attorneys involved and said, hey, you can't really do that, show us these internal policies or whatever. We would then also instruct them that we can actually install a water meter, but you will sign a cultivation letter. So we had cultivation letters set up where if people were going to cultivate marijuana and we found out, we can pull the meter out at their expense, and if they ever reinstalled, they would pay the full price again. So just some internal policies that we did, and again, probably not as formal as they should be, but address verification has always been where the district, when somebody gets approached on a water meter, we say to them, we need city permits, we need city addresses to verify So, Mr. Krushak, yours in general, I'll look into it and see how long out that address existed, maybe even before the city. I just don't know on that one specifically.
I would just like something that ties us all together, so a person doesn't have to, well, we got 5 acres.
I have a clarifying question. So currently, the water district, do you install water meters without having a building permit if someone signs the document about the cultivation?
Yeah, so they really have to push the envelope though.
Okay.
Because that's not an option we throw out there. We don't throw out an option. And by the way, we have this option. We really push them to the city, get permitting to our district, get address to our district. And then if they say, hey, we want to see legal, then we throw the marijuana letter out there. What are you doing it for? And again, there's people that have approached us on parking structures lately. Oh, but we don't want a water service. Well, how are you going to get water to that property? You can't use a hose from next door because we can't bring water across property lines. So there are things that we can sharpen up for sure. But the district has been, since the hammer strike with San Bernardino, County Sheriff's Department, we've been really big on making sure there was address and permits already in place to install water meters.
Okay. Thank you.
Alex, any questions?
As of right now, I don't really have any questions. I guess one of the ones is Yucca Valley one of the silent ones that it doesn't have?
Yes.
Yeah,
Any
Yucca
kind of-
Valley,
This is a
we couldn't
problem.
find any, one of our staff used to work for Yucca Valley, and there's no formal anything. So, but, given the history that we've had with some marijuana grows out there, we informally decided to be more cautious about giving addresses on vacant parcels. And so, now we're looking at formalizing it, but if the commission agrees with it, then we'll do language like this, like you see on the screen. If the commission has any other questions or modifications, suggestions, we're here to listen to it.
I do have a question. Is this regarding just rural or infill, any vacant land?
Any vacant land.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
we can have
so-
that discussion if you wanted to,
I mean, for me, I think the fact that you are able to get one, if you go through this process and push and sign a letter.
Yeah.
Or in the instance, like you suggested, like a parking structure or something where there may be a
Permitting.
use, which we have just approved one recently. There might be some other things besides these two, the existing lot with the street or emergency services that might apply in the city. So do we line item those specific things or, yeah, okay.
and so this is why I wanted to bring it to the commission today to see if it's conceivable where we would allow for an address on a vacant lot. Our first flush is, not really. If they really want to have a water meter through the water district, they can go through their process, but
Well, then but it still needs an address.
if they're not doing something agricultural.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they still have the option to do so even if they go through the water district. So I think limiting it isn't, it's kind of, there's a few things that become this gray area that they're going to allow but aren't stated here. I would rather see all of them listed or not at all. Yeah,
So we in other words, it's either all or none, basically, is what you're saying?
agreed. Yes.
So we either don't allow them at all, or we come up
Well,
with a long
if you're not
list.
no, I'm saying you should keep it the way that we have it, which is
Okay.
just be silent on it, or specify all of the ways in which you might have approval for a water meter in which you would need to list those items out.
Well, And
And-
this is, and the way we're approaching this is an administrative policy, not an ordinance, so it's direction to staff.
Mm-hmm.
So, even if we go down a path of formalizing it, saying we're not going to allow it, period, if some scenario comes up in the future that we don't anticipate, we can always come back and ask the commission to see if this is appropriate.
I don't know, listing all the potential ways you could get an address on a vacant lot seems kind of tricky, right? Because you could miss 17
Yep.
different ways. There's several things
we-
they could do.
We could set up a procedure where, and this is just a brainstorming session. We could say that you cannot get an address, but you can appeal the decision of the community development director to the commission and make your case.
Has the fire department or sheriffs ever said anything about vacant lots not having an address?
I didn't follow up with them, but I can. Yeah.
When we give an address assignment, we actually have to notify all local agencies. And so if it's a vacant lot, they don't have any comment on it. Obviously, you know, emergency services need to know when there's an address and when
Yeah.
there's actually a structure on a property. So they get notified when we do an address notification.
I mean, the emergency services could apply to said parking lot or
Parcel number.
essentially, because you do want to know where the structure
Well, and
exists.
if it's a parking lot, yeah, they can get an address for the parking structure.
Yeah,
You know, that would be considered the primary structure in that case.
got
If
it.
If it's just the parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, the question I really had was about agriculture, but
Mhm.
you guys already answered that.
Yeah, so agriculture goes through a whole different thing, so. Because that would be the only conceivable reason I would think of that would need water meter without a structure.
Especially after the garden conversation, community
Mhm.
conversation and whatnot.
Jim, do you have any more questions?
The only comment I would sit there and I'd just reiterate, whatever we do is that we coordinate it with the water district and the
And that's why
county.
he's here.
That's great, so I'm good.
Any more questions from up here? We do have one public comment, so we'll open public comment on this.
Okay.
Scott,
Good afternoon, Scott Curry. First of all, Matt's an outstanding community leader with the water company here. He makes himself available. I went to his workshop and he's very informative and on it. So my only concern is I'm a real estate broker. I don't care about address, but there's occasionally where somebody wants to have water on a vacant lot to start some landscape. Maybe in the future they're gonna build a home. I'd like to keep it open to where I would not put that on Matt to make an address for every vacant property. I think he'd be retired by the time he got done. But it would be nice, I didn't know that was available, if I go to Matt and say, I would like to landscape this corner to make it pretty, for example, put some cactus, low water, et cetera, not farming. Where my grandparents had a cabin when I was a little guy, that turned into the marijuana farms. It was disgusting. And now the remnants are still there of all the hot houses and things that kind of ruined the neighborhood for a long time. So whatever you need to do to prevent that, but maybe keep an opening like it is now to where if I wanted to landscape a commercial corner to make it a little prettier until it gets developed 5 or 10 years from now, maybe keep that open. Thank you.
thank you. Any more public comment? Close public comment.
I just want to say that I do agree with Scott in that realm of being able to add value to your land before you sell. I mean, when it comes to landscaping, that makes a difference out here.
Yeah, so bit of a clarification. We in the community development department issue the addresses.
Mhm.
The water district won't be doing that.
Totally.
Right.
So do you have what you need from us on this one, Keith, or do you need more clarification?
So just the only clarification I have is, should we keep it similar to what you see there, or should we have like an appeal procedure in case something comes up, they can come up to the planning commission?
I kind of like the appeal process to say, well, I don't quite agree with this decision. Let me gather my evidence and present it up to the planning commission.
Okay.
But how does everybody else feel?
I agree that it could remain as it is, I guess apparently silent, and at your discretion, should anybody want to challenge that, to send it our way.
I'm trying to formalize this that way it's clear. So, I mean,
Well-
what we can say in there is that we normally do not, but you may appeal the decision of the community development director to the commission. I want to make that perfectly clear because there's no written policy anywhere right now.
Right.
Well, it's
Would-
at your discretion though, right? Because if you're already getting the request, you're allowed to have that decision. You just need to know, like, are you approving that for a field out in the middle of nowhere, or is it a vacant lot that's inside of a community that maybe somebody owns next to them or something?
I'm trying to get it out of my discretion. I'm trying to make it clear.
Yeah,
for
and that's
everyone.
why I think having more specific information would be helpful. I get that then you can't list everything, but I think there's an obvious conflict here, but just saying no and then you have to go through this whole process in order to do so seems, as an appeal, seems excessive.
Well, what measures are you already using to say no?
We tell people no across the counter. It's what we do. And then, again, we've tried to find it's an informal practice and it's an informal policy. What I want to get out of this is saying, actually, this is not, me as a person telling you no. This is what our city's policy
City's
is.
policy, yeah.
Well, no, now I'm confused. I mean,
Right.
now I'm confused because it's like, okay, the water district installs the water meter.
Mhm.
They won't install a water meter on a vacant lot unless it's for an agricultural purpose without an address. So the person has to get the address first from you, then the water department will
Issue a water meter.
put in a
Under
water
normal
meter.
circumstances, yeah.
Okay, and you don't issue a address unless they've done a building permit.
That's correct. So building permit comes in first, the application comes in first, then you can get an address, then you can get a water meter.
Okay.
But on
So-
the one-off situations is what you're having a hard time with.
Well,
Because
and-
if I'm
yeah.
not gonna build, but I just wanna put a spigot there for a water
I
meter,
wanna,
you're
I
having,
wanna put, I need an address to get a water meter without a building permit is what it's coming into. And we've told people no, and now people are starting to challenge that decision because it's not written down.
I would just say, like, even in the process of a new build, when, like, in the county, you can get your water meter set up while you're in process with getting your permit before you actually get an issue permit.
Well, yeah, and
Even
as
if
long as
there's
the
an
application's on
application.
file.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
don't have to have an approved permit,
Right.
but you have to have an application
on
to
file.
file.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good distinction, but yeah, there's, exactly.
Why don't you, but I want, okay, so then we come back to, and I bring up my case,
Mhm.
okay? I did not have I did not have a building permit. I had a property with an APN, and I got and I had the
Mhm.
address issued by the water department.
And
And we're gonna,
I
but we
we'll
don't do
have to
that
look into
now.
that one
Okay,
particularly.
can't look at that one, that happened in the past, but I can understand why some people, being a commercial property, wanting the commercial property to be more, if they were thinking of developing, to have a water meter on it without a building permit, saying it's a commercial property, I'd like a water meter on it
yeah, so what it
for a
sounds,
future, so I'd like an avenue for that.
We agree.
what it sounds like is like land types,
Yeah.
or like land use and then breaking it down. Is what it sounds like, because you're saying commercial, I'm kinda saying infill residential, or,
I think any of
rural or-
it, because, I mean, ultimately, everyone in the Morongo Basin County does not require that, right? So if we require that, we're saying this basically more difficult to get a water meter. So that's what that does. So do we want that or do we not want that is basically what you're
Yeah,
asking.
and we've had this, we've
Right.
had this policy now for like 10, 15 years or something like that now. So, or longer than that.
Yeah.
So,
And installing a water meter is not an inexpensive thing.
no, it's, yeah, I don't wanna speak for the water district, but it's several thousands of dollars.
Well, first and foremost, if there's a way that the city has to say, there is another process you can go through without getting address verification, it's a cultivation letter, this is how they go, they can reach out directly to me. I mean, listen, we can take it out of your hands where we can still put in the water meter. But water meter in today's day on the short side, smaller meter, 5/8 meter is 7,000. If I have to cut into the road or bore under the road and we go 1 inch, so we either go 5/8 on the small side, easy 7,000, a bore under the road and we have to replace asphalt, 13,000. So 7 to 13,000 is what a residential meter is costing right now.
So there's one more thing to clarify. So you will install a water meter if they sign the letter even without an address.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one way that they can kind of get around that.
There you go.
So a
That's
commercial, a commercial,
In our policy that, right, or administrative instructions,
or it can just be as is.
so a
Yep.
commercial space can still I guess, beautify their space before selling it by going through you to get.
As long as they're
Approval.
willing to sign the cultivation letter that says if they cultivate on that property, we're pulling it out from the main. Because we're not having, listen, when the marijuana farms were going on in this community, the water district was getting like, you guys are part of the problem, you can't shut off water. We're not the water cops. We can't just shut off water because we think things are happening on properties. Even if we see them, we can't shut off water. And our attorney said, be very careful on how you approach people on those marijuana farms. We had to set up policies in place where we had to make it harder for those people that were just creating marijuana farms, that if you do cultivate, we're gonna come and yank that meter. So I'm just saying the city could have a way out to help you with this policy by saying there is an underlying way to get a water meter, but you will have to sign cultivation letters saying no marijuana can be on site, and if the district finds out.
Yeah,
we
and
pull the meter.
we would definitely be coordinating with the water district on a case-by-case basis here. So, you know, the whole point of this discussion is to not have an informal policy. We want to have something written down.
Yeah.
But you're not really, you're just looking for
The address part.
an address,
Mhm.
establishing
Yeah,
an address.
establishing an address. The policy for establishing an address.
And that's all you need to be concerned
That's,
with.
yeah, that's all we need.
But there are unique circumstances other than I'm just gonna build, so you're not gonna get your application to move forward. So that's how, I guess the guidance would be figuring out that part on the one-offs.
Yeah, so do you agree with the one on the city of Palm Springs? There's
this
two
is-
highlighted.
Well, this is
right?
Riverside, actually.
Oh, Riverside. They were the same though, right?
They're exactly the same.
Okay. Or, I think if that's the case and it's gonna get formalized, I would rather see that there's an appeal process and agree with what Max said.
I mean, it doesn't have to be an expensive appeal process.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I agree
And-
with an appeal process.
And if you can get a meter without the address through search,
well,
it
and what-
doesn't limit you from not being able to get a water meter.
Right, and so my intention here is if we do have, and I'm thinking out loud here, if we want to go down this path with an appeal or an exception, we can keep a running tabs of when those things occur. And if we have repeat of if a
So
one-off
many that,
becomes
yeah.
a repeat situation, then we have precedence to go on.
I think as long as it's not feeling like it's trying to limit the fact that you can't do, that there's less things that you could do without getting a permit first for the water. I think that
I mean, this is one of
you're not
those,
spelling that out in here, but there is that pathway.
yeah, so this is one of those instances where it's real easy to go down a rabbit hole.
Totally.
So I'm trying to keep it simple and written down and hand out to everyone, this is how you get an address, and we need da-da-da.
So what if we did something that says, so allowing for an address for a documented water meter application
Mhm.
only, I've applied to get a water meter. Can you give me an address? You say, yep, you have 18 months to submit a building permit. If it's not at 18 months, then your building permit is, or
You can't really, you can't
Right,
really
cause then
remove
it's
an address.
$7,000 I just spent for the water meter and I don't have a permit, now you're gonna code enforce me, pull my water meter?
Yeah, well, you can't really get rid of addresses once they're issued.
right, true.
Maybe it's just if they go through the process they need to get a water meter installed, at the point that they have the water meter installed, they could apply for the address.
Address comes first.
Okay, but not always,
Not always.
based on this just conversation. So that's the confusing part, which doesn't make sense to say that.
So I think the easiest way is we keep it status quo, right? We say, nope, you can't get an address if you're not gonna apply for a building permit and build something. You have other avenues to get a water meter. Please see the water district. They go through the process of the water district. They get their water meter as long as they sign the cultivation thing. You also say, if you would like to appeal this decision, you may. There is an appeal process. Here's the.
That might be the simplest thing. Yeah.
So that way,
So-
we're telling them they have another avenue to get it, or they can appeal to the city, say, no, I really need a water meter for X, Y, Z, and here's why. And I need an
Then we can
address.
work it out with the water district.
I think you have enough information to put a strong hand together.
Okay. So again, this is administrative policy, so there's no ordinance and it's just asking for direction, so.
Yep. You have kind of what you
I
need
got
from
it.
us? Okay. Moving on, Community Development Director updates.
So I was intending to have a particular item on April the 7th. I checked with our legal counsel with their work on helping me prepare that item, and it's not ready yet. So I am intending to not have a planning commission on the 7th because you guys have been working really hard lately. So I'm intending to give you guys a break unless you guys really want to have a study session for some reason. We can come up with zoning code and general plan workshops. but-
I will be in Camp Pendleton on the 7th, so
Okay.
Jim would have to run the meeting.
As of right now, I'm gonna, if you guys want a break, we'll just cancel it.
We can cancel.
Okay. All right, so no meeting on April the 7th, and then
Okay.
we'll come back on April the 21st.
No study sessions tonight. I think we're going to adjourn the meeting, but first I would like to thank everybody that did come and participate. It is, I know this wasn't much of a meeting, but it's very nice to see some smiling faces in the audience. So thank you all very much. Meeting adjourned.